Hi, I'm Andrew Gould. I'm here with Daniel Timson on his young 7-year-old German stallion, and today we're going to show you a little bit on the shoulder in how much horses can throw up problems. I think shoulder in is one of those very, very difficult movements that doesn't always come across as easy as it looks. We're going to show you riding too much angle, not enough angle, too much bend, not enough bend, and if we're lucky, Dan might show us one that is correct. So yeah, you've got a nice, good energy, and actually a very simple angle. He rode that quite smoothly without too much pressure. We're looking at the 3 tracks here. See, that one's too much angle, and you can see straight away how the horse is ducking and diving and he loses the control of the rhythm. I think he did that on purpose. You could see in the previous shoulder in how the horse was actually on 4 tracks, which is a little bit like a leg yield down the long side. Shows a nice, good energy coming into the shoulder in, which is important. You must keep the same trot. You can't have too many different trots. So there you go, 3 tracks. You could have a little bit more flexion to the inside, super in the shoulder, and the rhythm didn't change. And that's what we're looking for, and that's what the judges are looking for in competitions. They want to see the horse coming in and coming out in the same trot. Dan, this time could you ride a little bit more, more neck bend but no shoulder? This is for me a very common mistake that you see actually in competitions and in some ways training, but people not getting the right amount of angle that's necessary and more bending the horse in the neck rather than moving the shoulder at all. You can see how the rider's bringing the hand a little bit across the neck. So the left rein goes a little bit to the outside, and that brings more bend around, but it completely stops the horse from moving through his body. And this time maybe too much bend with the angle. Yeah, so then the horse can't possibly cope with that much angle and that much bend to keep a quality in the trot. We're just breaking his horse at the same time. And now maybe start to show us more correct way of riding shoulder in. You see, it's not as much angle as you think. This horse has a natural ability in the shoulder to really show off a shoulder in. If you're marking this in a competition, you know, it's going to score very, very well. That's good. And we'll develop this into maybe a little bit of travers as well. Shoulder in travers, it's not too difficult as a transition from one to the other. If you can ride good shoulder ins, you can ride good travers. We'll see down this long side a little bit clearer how the bend comes in. But again, you can see Dan staying in the same trot. Just a little bit more quarters. Yeah. Okay, there. Lost the quarters completely, had more bend, so that wasn't really a travers, that was falling out with the quarters and having too much bend. Take more quarters, that's it. Okay, so this is again, that's not travers, this is basically the rider just pushing the hind legs in off the track far too much, which again is a little bit like I was saying earlier, it's a bit like a leg yield down the long side. That's better. And just do one more on both sides, how you should ride a travers. You can see him just giving a little bit of discussion to the right rein to say, come on, we're going to come into a bend to the right now. That's good. Good energy. Doesn't need any more angle than that. You can see a little bit that the horse comes slightly behind the vertical, but in a training situation, you wouldn't frown upon that. It's not a bad thing. The horse is still young. It's a little bit of issues of strength there. So in our training situation, the fact that the horse is suppling, it's keeping the same trot, it's keeping the rhythm, he accepts the angle, that's what we're looking for. And then the stronger this horse gets, Dan will be able to produce it in a much better frame for competitions. So we've just seen Dan riding lots of different types of shoulder in, from good and bad, having too much angle, not enough angle, far too much bend. And you can see how easily it is to get it wrong. But you've got to try and think with shoulder in, and don't do too much with it. It's not such a big angle than you think. You don't need as much bend as you think. The more bend you put into a shoulder in, the more resistance you get, the more angle, the harder the horse can keep its rhythm and balance. And the same sort of thing applies in a travet. It's not too dissimilar in that way. You know, you're all the time looking at the rhythm and the balance. If the horse is carrying itself, and the exercises that we did at the beginning with transitions and pushing away from the leg, those things come into the shoulder in. You know, you're riding the right frame of balance, you're putting your inside leg into the horse and asking it to bend. It's very, very simple adjusting. So keep it simple, don't make it too complicated, and try and find the rhythm staying the same all the way through.